We are honored to be joined by our good friend, Dr. Jo Renee Formicola, professor of political science at Seton Hall University. Good to see you, doctor.
Good to see you too. Very good.
So we're taping on the 13th of January. This will be seen January, February, March. Joe Biden will be president when this is seen. But today is a very historic day. Assume for a moment that President Trump is, in fact, impeached for the second time by the House. Who knows what happens in the trial in the Senate? Why is today such an important day in American democracy?
Well, I think it's important because it's pretty much going to decide where we're going to go in the future. It's a way by which we decide, are we going to move forward together, or are we going to continue in a situation where everything is just so totally divided that we can't bring ourselves together? This is a test of what kind of people we are, what kind of a government we have, what our institutions are about. All of that's on the line today.
Doctor, you've been with us so many times, and you're such a respected scholar in the field of democracy, representative democracy. I happen to have in front of me is, you don't need the pictures to remember. On January 6th, as you watched, what was going through your mind and your heart?
A whole lot of things. I'm an older woman. I don't want to date myself, but I have seen some pretty terrible things happen in this country. I saw Washington, D.C. being burned down when Martin Luther King was shot. My school, where I was teaching at that time, was used as a bivouac area with helicopters coming in to try to restore order in the city of Washington, D.C. I've seen some pretty terrible things happen, but this was really more of a shock because it wasn't just an attack on a neighborhood or a street or a small group of people. This was an attack absolutely on the most powerful structures of our government and what they represented. And therefore, it made it shocking and upsetting. It made me angry. I was pretty much stunned. And I'll say, I've been a professor for 35 years. I've been involved in local politics, so pretty much seen most of it. But this was a bridge too far, just too much to try to absorb.
But because we're taping on the 13th of January, and because there are threats of violence, and we don't know what's going to happen, and I hope that those threats do not manifest themselves into anything beyond that, but we don't know. Let me ask you, what do you believe this kind of insurrection and threats of violence, with members of Congress saying that they potentially would have their votes influenced by their fear of physical violence against them and their families, not to mention members of the media and others who have been called the enemy of the people and have been attacked by certain folks who believe they have a First Amendment right to express themselves in that way? The question here is, as I see it, do you see an end to this violence, or do you believe that this is what the future holds?
This isn't what the future has to hold, but it's what the future can hold. And I understand everyone wants some sort of understanding, explanation, accountability, transparency. Everyone has a right to expect that, and every rational person wants that. The question simply is, what is the means to that end? How are we going to do that? Are we going to do that in a way where we continue to pit ourselves against each other, or are we going to try to find some sort of common ground where we can work to repair this country?
Do you believe Joe Biden, I'm sorry for interrupting, Dr. Formicola, to what degree do you believe President Biden has the opportunity and further the ability to help, if not bring us together the way we would want to, heal things just a little bit more than the way they are polarized right now?
I'm a political scientist, and so I always try to look at the story behind the story. Okay, he has the potential to bring this country together. It's going to be his greatest challenge. It's going to be how he secures his place in history or infamy, whichever the case may be. But clearly, this is what every president deals with, which is a kind of like an X factor. Not something you expected or anticipated. Who expected 9/11? I mean, these kinds of things happen, and this is where you either rise to greatness or you just fall on your face. But he has the potential of being, you know, he hasn't done anything that has made him irrevocably unable to deal with this. He hasn't said anything or done anything or cut off his leg. He still has the possibility.
Dr. Formicola, if people don't trust the outcome of elections, stop the steal. This is a scam. Millions of votes were hid, whatever. Not just about 2020 election, but beyond. If millions of Americans believe the 2020 election was stolen, what does it mean for future elections and our system of representative democracy?
Pretty simply, I think it says either we reform or we die. And there were so many things that need to be reformed in this country, from things like term limits, election reform, the way we fund organizations, PACs, financing. I mean, I could just go on and on. And we can't believe that the government that was set up 250 years ago is completely and totally responsive to the new context of the things that we face today. You know, the founding fathers weren't anticipating big tech. I mean, now we're looking at questions that didn't exist 50 years ago. We're looking at potential censorship. We're looking at First Amendment questions. And, you know, I spent some time today looking at the McCarthy hearings.
A few seconds. Go ahead, Doctor.
Okay, the McCarthy hearings, because there you saw the Red Scare and the reaction of people to communism and investigations, fears, blackballing people, denying them jobs, et cetera. But you know what? The same thing is happening now, except on the other side.
That's
I
right.
mean, what you're seeing, people are being tarred with recriminations because of what happened in this last event. And so we have to be very careful that we don't react the same way as we did, you know, 50 years ago.
And by the way, as we thank Dr. Formicola, check out United States Senator Joseph McCarthy and the McCarthy hearings. It speaks volumes about our nation and our history and what we can never go back to. And also want to disclose that Seton Hall University is an academic underwriter of our programming. Dr. Formicola, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Best to you and your family and the family at Seton Hall.
Okay, thank you so much.
You got it. I'm Steve Adubato. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, New Jersey Sharing Network, Johnson & Johnson, the Northward Center, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, NJ Best, and by United Airlines. Promotional support provided by bestofnj.com and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
If you need to see a doctor, RWJ Barnabas Health has 2 easy ways to do it from anywhere. You can see an urgent care provider 24/7 on any device with our Telemed app. Or use our website to book a virtual visit with an RWJ Barnabas Health Medical Group provider or specialist, even as a new patient. You've taken every precaution, and so have we, so don't delay your care any longer. RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.